Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something pretty surprising, a trend that's shaking up India's whole tech and business scene. You know that classic story, graduate from a top school, launch a world-changing startup? Well, it looks like that path is suddenly getting a lot lonelier. So let's figure out what's going on.
And it really all kicks off with this one number, 36. I know, on its own, it's just a number, right? But believe me, when we talk about India's startup world, this number, it tells a huge story. A really dramatic one about a big shift for some of the country's sharpest people. Okay, so here's the context for that number 36. That's how many startups have been founded by grads from India's top schools, the IITs and IIMs, so far this year. Now, let's rewind a bit. Last year, that number was 236, and the year before that, a massive 383. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about a drop of over 90% in just a couple of years. That's not just a dip, that's a cliff.
So, what in the world is going on? I mean, for ages, these schools have been like these incredible startup factories, right? Just pumping out founders with amazing ideas. But now, it feels like someone just slammed on the brakes. We've really got to unpack what's behind this.
And this is really the big question we've got to tackle. Is it that people just don't want to start companies anymore? Are all the good ideas gone? Or is there something bigger happening here, something outside their control? And from what the data is showing us, it's probably not a lack of ambition.
All right, let's get into it. The answer, as you might guess, isn't super simple. It actually points to these huge forces that are shaping, not just India, but the whole global economy. This story isn't just happening in one place. It's a sign of a massive worldwide change. So the experts are basically pointing to a perfect storm of four big things. First, you've got just general economic uncertainty all over the world. Then, there are geopolitical tensions making everything feel unstable. On top of that, inflation is squeezing everyone's wallets, and interest rates are way up, which makes borrowing money really, really expensive. If you're thinking about launching a new company, wow, that is a tough environment to start in.
And check out this quote from Himanshu Rai, who's the director at IIM Indore. It really sums up what a lot of experts are thinking. He's saying, look, it's not that people have lost their ambition or their dreams. It's just that the world outside has gotten so much harder to navigate. The dream is alive, for sure, but the reality right now, it's just a whole lot tougher.
And all those big global problems, well, they hit startups where it hurts the most, getting money. The people with the cash, the investors, they're starting to act very differently.
So here's the bottom line. That whole era of easy money for startups, it feels like it's over. I mean, think about it. With interest rates so high, investors can just put their money in something super safe and still get a good return. So why take a huge risk? They're getting way more careful, way more selective. It's not enough to have a cool idea anymore. They want a sure thing. And let's be honest, a brand new startup is almost never a sure thing.
Okay, so with all that doom and gloom, you're probably thinking the Indian startup dream is dead, right? It's all collapsing. But hold on. A lot of experts are saying we should look at this differently. Maybe it's not a crisis, maybe it's just a necessary adjustment.
I get it. The headlines can be scary. A 90% drop sounds like an absolute disaster, but what if? What if it's actually a sign that the whole startup scene is growing up? Like a painful but maybe healthy reset. And this idea of a reset is coming straight from Niha Singh, who's the chairperson at Traction, and they're the ones who gave us all this data in the first place. Her take is that this isn't the end of the road. It's more of a market correction, especially after a few years of just crazy, maybe even unsustainable growth.
So let's just be super clear about what we mean by a market correction. Think of it like a cool down after the engine got way too hot. The market is kind of taking a breath, finding a more realistic and sustainable pace. It shakes out the weaker ideas and forces everyone to focus on what actually matters, building a solid, profitable business.
But here's the thing. This cool down, this correction, it's not hitting everyone in the same way. When you start to peel back the layers of the data, something pretty worrying pops up. It seems like when times get tough, the existing problems and inequalities, they just get worse.
Just take a look at these numbers. For women graduating from those same top schools, the drop is even steeper. It went from 61 startups founded by women in 2023 down to just 3 this year. Let that sink in. 3. It's pretty clear that female founders are up against an even tougher fight in this climate.
And this isn't just a story about the elite schools. Nope. This is part of a much bigger trend happening all across the country. The number of startups founded by any woman in India fell from 582 just 2 years ago to only 26 this year. That really shines a light on a huge challenge for diversity in the startup world. And this downturn is definitely not helping.
So that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? Is this whole slowdown a healthy reset that's going to make India's startup scene stronger in the long run by making everyone focus on what works? Or are we at the start of a long, cold funding winter that could put a freeze on new ideas and make those inequality gaps even wider? The answer to that is really going to define what the next chapter looks like for business in India.